Hello everyone, I hope all of you are doing really well. Today in this video we are going to talk about quantum numbers. Okay, now guys, what exactly is quantum number? Now you might have studied a lot about the term quantum in atomic structure, right? So we actually started with the simplest model of an atom, then we moved on to the Rutherford's experiment which had its own advantages and disadvantages. Then came the Bohr's theory, right? Now, when the Bohr's theory came, he exactly proposed the actual nuclear model, right? Model of an atom, wherein the nucleus is at the center and electrons are revolving in fixed energy levels, right? He called them as orbits, orbital, that theory, right? Now, everything was discovered about like atom, the position of an electron. To a certain extent I'm going to talk about. Lot of postulates were also put forward, right? But the only thing was that the behavior of an electron, the exact, like what are the details of an electron, that was still not revealed. Okay, so we are going to talk a little bit about quantum number, which is going to uncover certain aspects of a nuclear model, wherein we are going to discuss the position, the energy, the spin, and the orientation of an electron. Okay, so let's move on with this video. Okay, so now guys, let's start. So let's begin understanding the atomic model. So you already know the Bohr's atomic model, wherein the nucleus is at the center and then electrons are revolving in fixed energy level, right? This is completely different than the Rutherford's model, wherein he said it's a planetary model, right? So if it would have been true, then you know the moving particle, or you can say the revolving particle, is going to radiate a lot of energy, and finally it could fall back into the nucleus and the atom would collapse, right? That was the basic reason for the failure of Rutherford's model. Whereas Bohr's theory clearly stated that electrons can revolve only in fixed energy levels, and the criteria was given was the angular momentum, that is MVR, is an integral multiple of h upon 2 pi, so MVR equal to nh upon 2 pi, right? So this was basically the one of the postulates, right? So now let's talk a little bit about quantum number. Now before talking about the quantum number, let's discuss the atomic model in very short steps, right? So nucleus is at the center, electrons are revolving in circular pathway, right? Now the question is, where are these electrons located, right? Now these electrons are revolving, they should have some energy. What about the energy? Which level, right? So can you see there are different shells, subshells, energy level. So nothing was predicted about this, right? And now the direction, right? The orientation, what exactly is the orientation? And now if you are saying that it is revolving or spinning, then it is very much necessary to tell that whether it is clockwise or anti-clockwise, right? So these answers, I mean, the answer for these questions would be given by a very important aspect of atomic structure. That's basically the theory of quantum numbers. Okay, now let's try to understand what exactly is the quantum number. Okay, now let's move ahead. Now, in this world wherein we have text messages, WhatsApp, and all the social networking, if I have to talk about sending a letter to somebody or going to a person's place, right? Now, things might be pretty much unrealistic, because we are so much connected by technology that we have actually lost the thrill of going to a person's place and then addressing that person, talking to that person, right? Now, but you know, quantum numbers is basically related to these aspects, right? For example, if I want to go somewhere and find someone, I need to know certain things, right? I need to actually know whether that person XYZ lives in which state, right? That is the first thing. Then in which city, then in which street, and in which house or which building. That's basically the complete address. If I really want to find that person, I have to actually go through all these steps. Now I have to enter the state, then go to the city, then find the street, and then find the house or the building, and that's the place wherein I'm going to get that person, right? So this is actually given by quantum numbers. Now these details are not given by quantum numbers. Okay, so when we talk about the electron, right? Now electrons are in fixed energy levels, right? So that is one quantum number called as energy quantum number. Now in a particular energy level, in a particular shell or in a particular orbit, there would be subshells which you normally call it as orbital. So inside a state, that person is going to be there. In which city, right? So another quantum number we are going to get. Now we are going to enter more deeply into the street, right? You enter into the street and then there could be directions to go to a person's house, and then you go to that person's house, right? Correct. And you find that person. So basically quantum number is actually dealing with the address of an electron, right? So when you talk about an electron address, the first is going to be the energy level to which it should belong. Then the next is the subshell or the orbital, right? And then after that, the next we are going to talk about is the orientation, right? Simply finding the subshell and not understanding anything after that, it's going to render all our efforts useless, right? So we need to talk a little bit about the orientation, right? Orientation. Now, when you talk about orientation, I can say it's in the west, it's in the east, right? So when you talk about orientation in quantum numbers, it could be along the axis. X-axis, Y-axis, Z-axis, in between the two axes, along the axis, right? Now, when you talk about the final destination, right? Now, this electron is actually revolving. So the revolution is so fast that we actually see that it is spinning, right? So it could be spinning in the upward direction, which is plus half, right, and downward direction. I'll be discussing this in due course of time. Okay, so basically what are quantum numbers, right? So if I have to simply define a quantum number, how would I do that? It's basically set of values. Okay, it's basically set of values that determine what? That determine the energy, that determine the position, that determine the orientation, right? And that determine the spin of a particular electron. Okay, right? So all atoms contain electrons. Now the address of an electron would depend on all these four parameters. So first, the energy of an electron, because you know they are in fixed energy level, which was told as orbits, right? And then you have position, then you have orientation, and then position means when you talk about subshells, right? For example, if you are in a particular place, right? Let's say if you are staying in XYZ state, right? Now in that XYZ state, there would be different cities, right? So this is going to be the position, right? So, and then orientation, whether it's going to be the left, right, and all these things. Spin, that is clockwise or anti-clockwise spin. So a set of values that gives information about all these four parameters is nothing but the quantum number, right? So now let's begin understanding the theory of quantum numbers in detail. Okay, yes. Now let's talk about these quantum numbers. Okay, so I'm just going to discuss what exactly is this, right? So basically we are going to talk about four quantum numbers. Okay, so the first quantum number is basically the principal quantum number. Now the principal quantum number is also called as energy quantum number. Okay, now you know it basically is going to give the energy level to which an electron belongs, right? So this is also called as energy quantum number. Now in that particular energy level there would be different electrons present in different like you can say different position, right? So that is given by angular momentum quantum number. This is also called as azimuthal quantum number. Okay, this is called as azimuthal quantum number, right? So principal quantum number talks about the shell or the orbit. Okay, that means electrons present in that particular shell or the orbit is going to have the same energy level, right? So now inside the orbit there would be certain subshells. So this is given by azimuthal quantum number. So the other name for this particular quantum number is secondary or subsidiary quantum number. Okay, this is also called as angular momentum quantum number. Now the next is basically, now you are going to find the shell, subshell, then magnetic quantum number is the next part. Okay, now electrons are revolving bodies. So a revolving body, or you can say spinning body, is going to generate magnetic field around it, right? So there would be different directions, right? It could align or it could oppose. This is basically the higher level theories. I'm not going to talk about that. So magnetic quantum number is going to give the information about the orientation, right? Now then comes the most important part, that is the spin quantum number. Now what is the spin quantum number going to tell you? The spin quantum number is going to tell you whether the electron, right, is going to have a positive spin or a negative spin, right? Correct. So we are going to discuss this in detail in this particular video, right? So for the time being, try to understand there are four quantum numbers: principal quantum number, azimuthal quantum number, magnetic quantum number, and spin quantum number. Now collectively, when you combine all these quantum number, you get basically the address of an electron, the details of an electron, the energy, the position, the orientation, and the spin of an electron. Okay, so this is basically what you call it as quantum numbers. Okay, now let's move on to the first quantum number. That's basically the principal quantum number. Okay. Now as you already see this is principal quantum number. That means this is going to be the main thing, right? Principal quantum number is denoted by n, small n. Okay. It refers to the energy level to which an electron belongs, right? So the energy level can be level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, right? For a shell n, the number of electrons is given by n square. Okay, n square is the number of electrons, 2n square basically, right? 2n square is the number of electrons which are present in a particular shell. Got my point? So number of electrons in a particular shell is given by 2n square. Now this is very important, right? So now let's discuss more in detail about this. Okay. So now principal quantum number is denoted by the alphabet n, small n, and total number of electrons present in any shell. So these energy levels we call it as shell. So when I say first energy level, I can say it's the first shell. Second energy level means the second shell. Third energy level means the third shell. Fourth energy level means the fourth shell, right? So he's designated principal quantum number. For shell number 1, the shell name is designated as K, and then you have L, then you have M, then you have N. You still have the further ones, but we don't need to discuss that because by the time we reach, the atomic number is going to become very large, right? So we never go beyond N. Is it clear? So now let's talk about the total number of electrons which are given by 2n square. So this is going to be 2 into 1 square, correct? So this comes to be 2, and then this is going to be 2 into 2 square. Now this comes to be 8. That means the first shell is going to contain 2 electrons. The second shell is going to contain 8 electrons. And then the third shell is going to contain 2n square, which is 18 electrons. And then the next is going to be 2 into 4 square. Now this shell is going to contain 32 electrons, right? So imagine you have the nucleus and the first shell containing 2 electrons, the second shell containing 8 electrons, then 18, then 32. Am I right? So what exactly does this mean? If the electrons, both the electrons, the 2 electrons present in that particular K shell is going to have the same energy, right? And the next 8 electrons which are present in the next L shell will have the same energy. All the 8 electrons are going to be having the same energy. Got my point? So this is the reason we normally call this quantum number as energy quantum number. Okay, so principal quantum number is also called as energy quantum number. The ones who are preparing for competitive exams, especially the medical or the engineering, now these are the different aspects that you would definitely want to note down. Okay, right? So this is also called as energy quantum number. Correct. So now we have already discussed principal quantum number, which is also called as energy quantum number, right? So now when I'm saying that both the electrons present in the K shell are going to have the same energy, right? So now I need to get the position of an electron, right? You have a shell, then you have a subshell. Now let's talk a little bit about this. You have a building in which a person is staying, right? Now this building is going to contain different floors wherein there will be different flats, right? So in this, now if I'm saying Mr. XYZ staying in building number A, that means his identity is he's staying in building number A, but he can be anywhere, right? Correct. So any person who is belonging to that particular building would be a resident of that particular building. Yes or no? So that means this resident could be anywhere, correct? So inside the building, there would be different apartments or different flats to be precise, right? So this is given by the next quantum number, right? So the next quantum number that we are going to study is basically the azimuthal quantum number. So before that, can you see this? I have already given the answers, which the thing which I have derived in the previous slide. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about azimuthal quantum number, right? So this is also called as angular momentum quantum number, and this is called a secondary quantum number. This is also called a subsidiary quantum number. Now the ones who are preparing for entrance exam, please note these three terms. Okay, now it is denoted by the word, not the word, sorry, alphabet L. For every value for n, now this position, this azimuthal quantum number, which is denoted by the letter L, depends on the value of n, right? So for every n, L can take values from 0 to n minus 1. Let me give you an example. So let's say if n is equal to 1, the electron belongs to K shell, right? So let's talk about L. L is going to be 0 to 1 minus 1. So L is going to be 0. Got my point? So when L is going to be 0, the electron is going to be in the S subshell or the orbital. Okay, so now let's talk about this. So energy quantum number, that's principal quantum number, gives shell or orbit. Azimuthal quantum number gives a deep understanding that inside the shell there are going to be subshells, right? Let's say for example, in a building, if you consider the first floor, so in the first floor there are going to be different flats, right? So that first floor is going to be the principal quantum number. The different flats which will be in different directions or positions, they are going to be the azimuthal quantum numbers. Okay, so when L is equal to 0, electron belongs to S subshell or S orbital. When L is equal to 1, electron belongs to p orbital. When L is equal to 2, electron belongs to d orbital. And when L is equal to 3, the electron belongs to f orbital or f subshell. Okay. Now, let's try to visualize this. You have two electrons in the K shell. Now, these two electrons are going to be somewhere. Yes or no? This can be in either of these orbitals. Got my point? So, I'll be discussing how we are going to use this quantum number in actually understanding an atom. Okay, first let's finish off the theory of quantum numbers. Okay, yes. So now let's see this. L is equal to 1, electron belongs to S subshell, okay, and L is equal to L is equal to 0 S subshell, which is sharp, okay. Then P means principal, then you have D, which means diffuse, and F is nothing but fundamental. Okay, so guys, these alphabets are smaller ones. Okay, so try to remember whenever you're writing, you use small s, small p, small d, and small f. Okay, just for the sake of understanding and for the sake of highlighting, I have actually given this in terms of capital. Okay, right? So now the question is, how did these come into picture, right? So S orbitals are spherical in shape, p orbitals are dumbbell in shape, and then D is double dumbbell, and F is complex. Now the question is, how do I get all these things, right? When you do quantum mechanical calculations, you plot a graph where in the S orbital the S subshell is going to appear something like this. Okay, so I'm just giving this information based on the experiments which we have done, okay, especially I have done during my master's degree, wherein, you know, we actually used this Schrodinger wave equation and derived the shape of S, P, D and F. Okay, now you might be thinking what equation I'm talking about. So this Schrodinger wave equation we are going to talk about at the end of the chapter. Okay, this is basically the end of the chapter. We normally discuss this Schrodinger wave equation. Okay, now that's pretty much interesting, but yes, that's little bit mathematical. Okay, so you might be a little bit uncomfortable. Yes, so these symbols characterize the spectral lines generated by these types of orbitals. So you already know that electron jumps from ground state to the excited state and then comes back emitting a line of a particular frequency, right? So spectral lines, you can visualize the spectral lines as a result of these type of transitions, right? So nothing much about the shape. The only thing is this symbol basically characterize the spectral lines indicated by those type of orbitals. Okay, whether they are spherical, whether they are dumbbell. I'm not saying spectral lines are spherical, but you can have certain impact. Okay, spectral lines were impacted due to these shapes, right? And when they discovered the shape, they found out s orbital is spherical in shape, p orbital is dumbbell, d is double dumbbell, and f orbital has a complex structure. Okay, so out of these only three orbitals you'll be taking into consideration, s, p, and d. Normally, due to the complexity, we don't study the f subshell. Okay, so this was about the shape of orbitals. Now, so you could see this shapes of orbitals. I have already written. Now let me just draw. Okay, this is a blank slide which I have kept it because I really want to draw the structure. So S orbital is going to have a spherical structure. Let me just change the ink and see. Okay, so S orbital is going to have a spherical structure, and the shape of p orbital is something like this, which is dumbbell, and d is going to be two dumbbells together, so you have double dumbbell. Okay, and f orbital is going to be complex. Okay, so this was about the shapes of different orbitals. Okay, now you know the shell, you know the subshell. Now you need to understand the orientation, three-dimensional orientation. Okay, now electrons have energy, right? So they are revolving continuously, they are spinning continuously. So a moving body is going to generate, or you can say a revolving body is going to generate a magnetic field around it, right? So it has to orient itself under the influence of this magnetic field. So the three-dimensional orientation is given by the three-dimensional orientation of the orbital, right? That s orbital, whether the p orbital or d or f, that orientation is given by magnetic quantum number. Okay, now this magnetic quantum number is denoted by m. Okay, and the values which it takes depends on L. So it is minus L, 0 and plus L. Okay, let me give you one very simple example. So let's start with n. N is equal to 1. Okay, so L is going to be minus 1 to 1 minus 1, because you know L is 0, sorry, 0, not minus 1, 0. So L is 0 to n minus 1, right? So that means L is going to have a value which is equal to 0, right? Right, and this means the electron belongs to S subshell, right? And now how many electrons are there in first subshell? That is 2n square. So there will be 2 electrons present. Yes or no? Correct. Now what will be the value for m? M is minus L, 0 plus L. That means m is equal to 0. That means basically there is no orientation of this, and that's possible only when it is spherically symmetrical. Got my point, right? No direction, no orientation. Right? So the number of values which m can take is given by 2l plus 1. That means 2 into 0 plus 1. This is equal to only one value. Got my point? Right? One value means no direction at all. So this gives orientation of the orbital. Okay. Now let's see, when L is equal to 1, this belongs to the p subshell, right? And now m is going to be minus 1, 0 and then plus 1. This gives us three values. Okay, now let's try to put this in the equation. Number of values, 2 into 1 plus 1, that comes to 3. Yes or no? What does that mean? You know, P subshell has three orientation. So this could be along the x-axis, then you have y-axis, then you have z-axis. So you can write this as px, py and then pz. Got my point? It's very simple to understand. When you get three values, that means three orientations. When you get five values, that means five orientation. Now, how you are going to get that, we are going to study very soon. Okay. Now, let's move on to the little bit. You need to have these values with you: azimuthal quantum number, secondary, subsidiary, and so on, right? Because you know you are going to actually take these like azimuthal quantum number as a reference, and then you are going to move on to magnetic quantum number, that is m, and then spin quantum number. So everything is going to depend on L value. Okay, so that is the reason I've already revised this. I mean, that means I am going to consider this as a reference point. Okay, L can take values from 0 to n minus 1. Now let's talk about the different subshell. So can you see this 1s, this is 2s, this is 3s? That means you know the energy level is increasing. First is 1s, then you have 2s, then you have 3s. So if you could see here, the size of the subshell is also increasing. because this is principal quantum number. Got my point, right? So now if I'm saying that um, I'm staying in the you can say seventh building and flat number 502. What I'm going to write? I'm going to write 7 and then 502. Yes or no? Right? Correct. Seventh building, fifth floor and second flat, that is 7502. Now principal quantum number is 1. Right? Azimuthal quantum number is S and two electrons are present is here. That means the first number is the principal quantum number. The next one is the azimuthal quantum number, and then the superscript is going to be the number of electrons. Okay. So now let's move on to the next part. Okay. So this is the S subshell. Now you have the PX, you have the PY, you have the PZ, three orientations. Okay. Now let's see the D1. Okay. Now D I want to discuss. Let's see when L is equal to 1, it is P, right? So L is equal to 2, that means it is D. So what will be the value for M? M is going to be minus L, 0 plus L, right? So means minus L to 0 to plus L, right? So what exactly is going to be the value? Minus 2, then you have minus 1, then you have 0, then you have plus 1, then you have plus 2, right? So can you see total number of values are 5. Try to put this in equation 2L plus 1. So that means 2 into 2 plus 1. This is going to give me the number of orientations, 5 orientations. Okay. Now I have a double dumbbell shape and I only have 3 axes X, Y and Z, right? And I need to have 5 combinations. So how would I do this? I'm going to have a combination like X and Y together. So I'm going to get XY. Then I'm going to have Y and Z together. So it's going to be YZ. Now I'm going to have Z and X together. So you have ZX, right? So now I have dxy, dyz, dzx, right? So can you see this X and Y? The orbital is lying between X and Y, right? It is between X and Y, so it is dxy. If it is between Y and Z, it is yz, and then if it is between Z and X, it is zx, right? So these are the orbitals in between, you can say, right? Correct. Now if you could see here, these are the orbitals which are lying exactly on the axis. So can you see it's lying on the x-axis also, y-axis also. So we are going to write it as dx square minus y square. Now you may ask me, why is it x square minus y square? Guys, this is beyond the scope of the of your syllabus. So it's based on the quantum mechanical experiments basically. Okay. So right now I would not complicate this. Just try to understand dx square minus y square means it is on the x-axis also, y-axis also, right? And then the next is going to be on dz square, right? Correct. So now you have dx square minus y square and then dz square. Now this gives us 5 orientation, right? Got my point? So this is now how I would understand this. I could have something like dx square, then I could have something like dy square, and then I could have something like dz square, right? On the x-axis, on the y-axis, on the z-axis. Now why exactly is the 2 there? Because it's a double dumbbell, right? X and X together. But this gives me, these are the 3 orientations, these are the 3 orientations. This gives me a total of 6 orientation, but I only want 5, right? So what did I do is I took the resultant of dx square and y square, and that came to be dx square minus y square, right? Are you getting my point, right? So this is basically the orientation logic. Okay, it's definitely much more than that, but for the time being just try to understand this. Okay, so the different orbitals are dxy, that means between x and y. Then you have dzx, okay, between z and x axis. Then you have dyz between y and z axis. Now this is dz square, which is on the z axis. Can you see both the dumbbells? Now there is a ring, d or dz square always comes with a ring. Okay, yes. And then dx square minus y square, which is present both in x axis as well as y axis. Okay, right? So this is nothing but the shape of the orbital. Got my point? Correct. Now how to see? Now there are 5 orbitals, right? Now the rule is each orbital is going to have 2 electrons. So the d subshell normally has 10 electrons. So how to calculate the number of electrons in a subshell? Okay, number of electrons in a subshell is given by the value 2 into 2l plus 1. Okay, so that means number of orientations multiplied by 2. So what does that mean? So for S, that is equal to 1, so 2 electrons. So for P, you get 3 orientation, that means 6 electron. For D, you have 5 orientation, that means 10 electrons, right? For F, you would be getting 7 orientations, that means 14 electrons. It's very simple to understand. Okay, so this was about the shape of the orbitals. Okay, now the shape of F is complicated. Now let's try to fill this up. Okay, so the magnetic quantum number is given by minus L, 0 and then plus L. So for s orbital, L is equal to 0, here L is equal to 1, here L is equal to 2, here L is equal to 3. So this is going to have no value because this is of course going to be minus 0 plus 0 and 0, that gives you the value 0 itself, right? So L is 1, so that means it's going to be minus 1, 0 plus 1, giving us a total of 3 orientations. Now to every orbital 2 electrons would be there, so 6 electrons in total. Got my point, right? So now let's come back. So you have the K shell contains 2 electrons, yes or no? So both the electrons are going to be S subshell, so I'm going to write it as S2, right? Now when K means N is equal to 1, so the first shell contains S subshell, that is going to contain 2 electrons. Got my point? Now the next is N is equal to 2, that means L shell. Okay, L shell, right? So this is going to contain 8 electrons. Got my point? Right? And then you have M and N, L, right? So here it's going to be minus L, which is minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1 and 2. Total values are 5. Here the total values are 7. And as usual, 2 electrons here, 6 electrons, 10 electrons here. Okay, and then you have 14 electrons coming here. Okay, so this is basically how you're going to represent that electron. Basically we are talking about theory of quantum numbers, nothing else. Okay, now electron filling principle, you have different rules which you are supposed to follow, then fill the electron. So that's basically not what the video is going to cover about. Okay, so this is the representation. Okay, so I guess the same thing has been already done in the previous slide. So can you see this, right? So this is kept blank because this has basically a complex structure. Okay, now let's move on to the spin. Now guys, listen here, very simple thing. Now there is one electron, right? And there are two behaviors possible. First is clockwise and then anti-clockwise, right? So the probability of this event happening is 50%. That means if I'm giving an electron, there is a possibility of 50% that it can spin clockwise and it can spin anti-clockwise. So the probability is going to be half, yes or no? So when it spins clockwise, it is plus half. When it spins anti-clockwise, it is minus half, yes or no? So an electron spin can be 50%. There is a 50% probability that you can have a clockwise. There is 50% probability that anti-clockwise, right? So how do you calculate? How do you get this, right? So there is a probability of event occurring is 1, and then total number of events are 2. So the probability is half. So when you say half, plus half is going to be clockwise, minus half is going to be anti-clockwise. Got my point? So let me just explain this again. So let's say when n is equal to 1, electron belongs to K shell, right? Now this K shell is going to have 2n square, which is 2 electrons. Now both the electrons will be in S subshell, yes or no? And so I'm going to write 1s2 because first energy level, then you have S, which is the subshell, and then total number of electrons, right? Now how am I going to write? This has only one orientation, so I'm going to write a box like this, right? Because there is only one value of orientation, which is 0, right? So one electron is going to be having positive spin, one electron is going to have a negative spin, right? So spins should not be same because then there will be repulsion. Got my point, right? So this was about the spin quantum number. Okay, so guys, here are the possible spins, that is clockwise and anti-clockwise. Okay guys, now before we wind up with this video, I'm going to combine everything and then show how this really works magically. Okay, now let's say let me say n is equal to 1, right? Okay, so n is equal to 1, that means it belongs to K shell, right? This we have already discussed, and K shell normally contains 2n square, which is equal to 2 electrons. Yes or no? Now, so you already know the value for L. L is equal to minus 1. Okay, sorry. L is equal to not minus 1, sorry, 0 to n minus 1. So 0 to n minus 1. So what does this give you? This give you 0 to 1 minus 1, which is 0. That means L is equal to 0, right? Correct. Now this means it belongs to S subshell. So both the electrons are going to be in S subshell. There will be 2 electrons. Yes or no? Means there are 2 electrons present in S subshell. But which energy level? The first energy level. So you write it as 1. Okay, so the coefficient is going to be the principal quantum number, the next is going to be the azimuthal quantum number, and the next, the subscript is going to be, I think superscript is going to be the total number of electrons. Now let's talk about n is equal to 2, right? When this n is equal to 2, electron belongs to L shell. L shell has an occupancy of 2 into 2 square, which is 8 electrons. Now how these 8 electrons are going to be placed, right? So now let's talk about the value for L. L is equal to 0 to 2 minus 1. That means it is nothing but 0 and 1. What does that mean? It will have two values. L is equal to 0, L is equal to 1. Yes or no? So when L is equal to 0, electron belongs to S subshell, second energy level. So I'm going to write here as 2s. And L is equal to 1, electron belongs to P subshell, the second energy level, so it's going to be 2p, right? You already know S orbital can have 2 electrons, so P is going to have the remaining 6 electrons. So can you see 8 electrons? In the second energy level, there is S subshell also and P subshell also, and S subshell is going to take 2 electrons and P subshell is going to have 6 electrons. Got my point? Right? So out of the 8 electrons, 2 are in the S subshell and 2 are in the P subshell, right? So it's like on the same floor, one is in one flat, the remaining electrons are dispersed in another flat, right? So this is basically the thing. Now the next is n is equal to 3. So this belongs to M shell, which has a total of 18 electrons, right? 2 into 3 square. So let's talk about the value for L. L is going to be 0 to 3 minus 1, right? So which is nothing but 0 to 2. Now when you said 0 to 2, you can have the values L is equal to 0, L is equal to 1, L is equal to 2. L is equal to 0, that means it is belonging to S subshell. S subshell means which energy level? Third energy level, so I'm going to write 3s, and this is going to be P subshell, so 3p, and this L is equal to 2, D subshell, so this is going to be 3d, right? Now you already know S orbital has 2 electrons, right? P, there are 3 orientations, multiplied by 2 gives you 6. So now you have this. So the remaining 10 electrons are going to be here. You can cross check. D orbital has 5 orientations, right? So 5 into 2, that will give you 10 electrons. So can you see, out of the 10 electrons, the third shell is going to have 3s, 3p and 3d, and this is how the electrons are going to be distributed, right? Now let's talk about n is equal to 4, right? So 3, it had 3 values. 2, it had 2 values, 1, it had 1 values, right? So you can do this as an assignment. N is equal to 4, right? So you will be having 4s, yes, you'll be having 4p, then you'll be having 4d, and then you'll be having 4f, right? Correct, all the 4 orbitals. If it is 5, then it's going to be 5. So after F you have G, then you have H, then you have I, but we don't study that because by the time you reach 4F, the atomic number is very, very high. Okay, so guys, n is equal to 4, the number of electrons are going to be, I guess, 32. 2 into 4 square, right? 2 electrons in S, 6 electrons in P, 10 electrons in D, and then 14 electrons in F, right? Correct. It's very simple. So I want you to do this as a part of an assignment and then see how it works out, right? So this was about the theory of quantum numbers. We studied about the principal quantum number, azimuthal quantum number, magnetic quantum number, and the spin quantum number. Okay, so this was basically the theory of quantum numbers. I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. For more updates, please email me on this particular ID. And if you like this video, please hit the like button. To get more updates on the different videos, please click on the subscribe button. Thank you.